Right. I need to tell you about this lady, this mom that I see when I go to pick up Poppy from school regularly. Now, I think she must have an older daughter or son or whatever, an older child that goes to her primary school, because I think she parks and like the child walks to her car, like down the street from the school. This is my theory anyway. So when I walk by, and I don't see her in the mornings, just in the evenings and the afternoon, and she's in her like little white SUV, and she has a total Karen, let me speak to the manager haircut.
I was like, hang on a second. I drive like a white SUV. You need to be very fucking careful.
Yeah, well, I know you just recently trimmed your fringe, but you aren't in the let me speak to the manager category yet.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I kid. Right, but okay, so it sounds pretty normal, right? Like it's just totally like suburban mom kind of thing, you know, picks her kid up for school. But I kid you not, she's absolutely blasting with her windows up, blasting like rap music.
Oh, I love it.
Full on. Like the other day, she was listening to Migos. I was like, wow. And I'm like, and then today I walked by and she was listening to Cardi B.
Oh my god.
Like, but that's so incredible. Loud. I mean, I can full on know exactly what song she's listening to, and she's got all the windows up, and she's just sitting there, like, waiting for her, like, child to then. So what I want to know is that if she turns down the, like, she flicks it over to something else, like.
When she collects her kid.
Yeah. Like, does she change it and does she turn it down? Is that, like, is she just gangster while she's, like, on her own? Like, do people know about this life she has?
I love that so much.
Is it an alter ego? I don't know. I just need answers. I'm gonna find out. If I get an update on Rap Mom, I'm gonna let you know.
Rap Mom, I love that. Good calling her Rap Mom. Has she got like a personalised number plate or anything?
Oh, I haven't looked.
You should
look out next time. I'll give updates.
We'll need an update on Rap Mom at some point.
Absolutely.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Murder Friends, the podcast where three friends from three different countries talk about murder. My name's Alana, and I'm Canadian.
I'm Anna, and I'm American.
My name's Hannah, and I'm British.
So sit back and relax. You're among friends, and let's talk murder.
I got a bone to pick with both of you.
Oh no.
It's about mince pies. So Anna posted a meme on her Instagram or something about how mince pies are disgusting. And I take that very, that's offensive. And then it turns out that Alana doesn't like them either. So I'm going to need an explanation from both of you. I was going to ask you to write like a 1,000-word essay about how you're wrong. But I need you to explain this to me.
Okay, so, my feelings are that, first of all, they're a really British thing, I think, because we don't really have them in America. It's not like a thing we eat there.
Oh.
It's just like this weird, fruity... It's like fruitcake. I don't know. No.
It's like the worst version of a fruitcake.
Yes.
And you always dread when someone gives you a fruitcake.
Exactly.
That's like the worst thing you could give somebody. And this is like mini fruitcake form.
It's not a fruitcake. It's mincemeat in pastry. And pastry is obviously one of the best things to wrap around something.
It's not mincemeat. There's no meat. I want steak. I want chicken. Give me that. Like, no, it's like fruity.
Meat pie.
It's just like
meat pie.
It's just like spicy raisins and stuff. There's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly.
Raisins.
I find that so offensive.
How can you feel so passionate about raisins?
You don't see how many mince pies I eat over Christmas.
It's all right. I get it. Because, like, my husband eats 7 packs on his own.
Like, by the box. Yeah. I don't even count, like, individual ones anymore. I eat them by the box. So.
No.
Do you have a favorite brand?
I think just,
you have
like,
one that you go to?
Sainsbury's own brand ones. Like, they're, like, the basic bitch of mince pies. They're pretty good. But Aldi do special ones. They did like a chocolate orange one once. That was fantastic. They did salted caramel one year.
Okay, maybe I could get on board with that. I mean, is there still
no, you don't get to come back to it.
Is there still like the mince meat in it?
Yeah, it's like it's like pastry, and then there's like a thinner layer of mince meat, and then there's like salted caramel over the top, like soft, like liquidy salted caramel, and then like a little pastry lid.
All right.
Amazing.
The other week, I actually did a video for YouTube. This is #spoilers for anybody who watches those. I haven't posted it yet. But I decided I wanted to do a mince pie related Christmas one. So I bought 12 boxes of 12 different types of mince pies. And it's the 12 days of Christmas thing. I decided that it would be funny. So I had 12 mince pies, of which I don't even like to begin with. And honest to God, when I finished recording, I actually sat in the bathroom on the floor because I thought I was going to vomit. Like, I've never been that close to throwing up in years. But I sat there and I thought, why have I done this? If nobody watches this video, I'm going to legitimately cry because it was horrific. Amazing.
You put yourself through a lot of trauma for that.
Yeah.
So going back to Sainsbury's ones, Hannah, do you like the ones that the bakery actually make?
No, just like the ones in the boxes.
The one in the boxes. Yeah. Because I think Will says his favorite ones are the bakery Sainsbury ones.
Yeah.
He says those are really good. So, I mean, I think you're all repulsive, but
they do like loads of fancy ones, like all butter pastry, and it's just like I don't care. I'm after at Christmas. I'm after like quantity over the quality.
No, my Christmas indulgence is cheese.
Yes.
Yes, give me all the cheese. All right, so for today, for true crime news, we are going to a story out of Russia. Now, this story is still it's recent, so we've got only so many details. So I started to research it, and I actually found this really good article on heavy.com by Jessica McBride. And it literally sort of sums up what we know and takes from like a lot of different news articles in it. So thank you, Jessica, for that, because it really helped me. And I'm going to post a link to this article on our website. So please check that out for more. I haven't used the whole thing, but it just was really good at summing it all up. So I don't know if you guys have heard this story or not, but it's pretty grim. Professor Oleg Sokolov is a Russian historian and prominent Napoleon reenactor. He is accused of murdering his girlfriend after he was fished out of a river with a grisly backpack containing her severed arms. Yes.
I think Napoleon reenactor might be a red flag.
Yeah. Guys, I'm going to post it on socials. So when you hear this, listeners out there, please look at this guy. All of the pictures they have of him, he's in a Napoleon outfit. And he legitimately just looks like a ball sack. Like a little round ball sack in a hat.
Did you say a ball sack?
Yes, he just wrinkly.
She absolutely did.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Anyway, check it out, okay? Okay, authorities allege that Sokolov, 63, was intoxicated when he fell into the river during an attempt to discard the body parts, according to BBC. When police went to the professor's home in St. Petersburg, they said they found the body of Anastasia Yashchenko. I apologize if I did not pronounce that well. Age 24.
She's so young.
So that's why I was especially brutal about his appearance. Sorry. And they said that she was also missing her head. The bizarre murder is causing headlines in Russia and throughout the world, in part due to the prominence of Sokolov, who is considered an expert on the Napoleonic era? Am I saying that right? In fact, the Napoleon-obsessed Sokolov sometimes dressed up publicly as Napoleon Bonaparte. So, things to know. Okay, Sokolov is accused of murdering Yashchenko during an argument and planned to commit suicide dressed as Napoleon, reports say. The professor isn't denying the crime. I mean, obviously, he was pretty much caught red-handed. That was no pun there. I actually did not mean for that to be a pun. I'm sorry, because I didn't mean to disrespect, but that just worked out that way. He's not denying it. He's confessing to it, according to the BBC. His lawyer told press that he has admitted to his guilt. Also, according to the BBC, Professor Sokolov admitted to police that he killed his girlfriend in the midst of an argument and then sawed off her head, arms, and legs. Bit extreme.
So she was his girlfriend?
Yes.
Oh, dear.
So, that's not okay.
No, she was, 40 years younger than him. And got in an argument, and then he killed her, and I guess he was trying to hide it, I suppose. I don't know what else he would have been doing. He planned to get rid of her body before publicly committing suicide dressed as Napoleon, as I said before, BBC reported. The Guardian also reported that Sokolov's plan was foiled when he fell into the river while trying to get rid of the backpack with the body parts. He was then, because he fell in, he was then rescued from the river. The police statement also says the arms were discovered and the man was detained on murder charges.
So if he fell in the river with a backpack full of arms on, wouldn't you take the backpack off?
Yes.
You wouldn't like wait for you to get like fished out of the river with
He was intoxicated.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying. So you're obviously, you need help getting out. You are drawing
and you'll be like,
attention.
Oh, can you just get my bag? Like,
yeah. Sorry, I'm not trying to laugh because it's horrific.
Like, she's just
and if
a
you
fucking
see
idiot.
If you see a picture of this young woman, she's gorgeous, and she'd finished. She was very bright. She's reported to be very bright, and she'd finished university, and she just had her whole life ahead of her. And this is just horrendous. The historian murder just gets crazy. This is what Bloomberg News wrote on Twitter with a report. He killed her at his apartment on Thursday, but didn't decide to get rid of the body until Saturday. He had guests over in the interim, and nobody noticed a thing. I wish you guys could all see Hannah's face right now. Yeah, It just gets worse. So a little bit more about him is that he is a recipient of a major French honor for his work on Napoleon. His research was recognized in France, where he received a Legion, a big honor in 2003. He wrote books on Napoleon Bonaparte and consulted on films about the French leader. Now, the victim was a former student of Sokolov. Sokolov was a history professor at St. Petersburg State University, which is actually Vladimir Putin's alma mater. Not that is in any way related, but I guess you could say it's probably a very... I'm not aware, but I'm imagining it's probably a very good school. The British news site described how Sokolov and the victim both liked to wear period costumes, with Sokolov dressing up as Napoleon, so I guess she was into it as well. Students told the Telegraph that Sokolov was good at impersonating Napoleon and was a good teacher, but he was also known for his eccentricities, such as calling his lover Josephine and asking to be called sire. He was also known to yell in French.
Sacre bleu.
He had a history of alcohol abuse and violence against women. Shocking, isn't it? And in 2008, he was accused of beating up another woman, but wasn't charged. He was accused of having a reputation for his instability and alcohol use, according to the Telegraph. So I suppose, as gruesome as it is, it wasn't completely unprecedented.
That's awful.
Jesus.
Ugh. What a piece of shit.
Yeah, it was just, obviously, just bright young woman who, you can imagine she was probably in awe of her professor, that sort of relationship. She was younger. Obviously, we had no idea, but it's just really sad.
That's awful.
So before we get started on our review, I have to talk about the Prince Andrew interview that aired on BBC on the 16th, I believe, of November. I need to talk about it, and I feel like if any of you that are listening haven't seen it, or at least seen some of the clips or highlights, stop what you're doing, go on YouTube, or you can go on BBC iPlayer if you are in the UK, and watch the interview, because it's one of the most bizarre interviews I think I've ever seen. And I just have a lot of thoughts and feelings. In fact, as I was watching, I wrote notes on my phone, and there's a lot of swearing. I mean, I'm going to take out the swearing for this.
Leave in the swearing, it's more fun.
Yeah, so I literally was like going to watch it, and then while I was doing some ironing, exciting times, and I just had to stop. I had to stop and put it down. And just because I was just in awe.
Yeah, so there were parts of it when I was cooking a roast dinner at the time. This insight into my Sunday afternoon. I was standing at my sink, and I had my phone up on the windowsill, and I was peeling a potato. And there's one part of it where he said something so fucking stupid that I literally was mid peel of a potato, and I was stopped and was just watching it. And it's just it's got a potato in one hand and a peeler in the other. It's just probably the weirdest thing to walk into the kitchen and see. I was like, what's going on?
Yeah, but it was one of those things that it was so shocking that he was actually on TV, just what he's doing. So let me give you a little background. Mm-hmm. I guess, again, you probably have heard of the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. We actually talked about it way back a couple months ago, I think. Now, he was found dead in his cell before he'd been convicted. he had been linked. There'd been all in the news. Again, you would have to live under a rock not to have heard. But one of the people connected to him, Jeffrey Epstein, were Prince Andrew of England. And the palace since then he's not been, just saying this, he's not in trouble or anything like that. There's just all this speculation. And there was a picture of the accuser. And she's a 17-year-old girl, Virginia Roberts Giuffre, and she has made statements that she had sex with Prince Andrew when she was 17, and several occasions she was made to in London and I think in New York and some other places. She was sort of sex trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein. Obviously, the palace had issued statements just saying he denies anything. This is, ridiculous, kind of those sort of statements. And for some unknown reason, he felt that he needed to go on camera and give an interview about it. And also just to note, before we start to actually dive into what he said, his PR advisor quit like 2 weeks before this interview because before the interview because he told him not to do it.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. What do you guys think about it? Your immediate feedback.
There was a couple really interesting, the whole thing is a goddamn train wreck. And every time he opens his mouth, you're just like, oh, you would have been better off not saying that. And it was so interesting. There was one part, throughout the thing, his defense basically is that I do not recall. I do not remember. I do not recall. I have no recollection, that sort of thing. And they talk a lot about the picture that you mentioned. So he has his arm around Virginia. You can see his hands like on her waist sort of thing. And he's saying, oh, we don't know if that picture is real. But he one part that stuck out to me, and I don't know why, it's just a weird thing to say, but he was saying, oh, I have no recollection of meeting her. I have no recollection of that picture. That picture was taken upstairs at their house, and I never go upstairs. I've never been upstairs. And it was just kind of like, when people who have done something wrong and they kind of admit to one thing but not admit to the other thing. So it was like he admitted that he had never been upstairs in this house, because why would he go upstairs? But then he was agreeing that was him in the picture. I don't know. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah. He was basically saying it was him in the picture, but it may not have been his arm. Basically, he actually wasn't, and I'm sure this was on legal advice, he actually didn't deny that the picture was fake. He didn't come out and say the picture was fake, but he basically danced around it, and it was actually quite funny because the interviewer, I'm really sorry that I don't have her name, but she did a really, really good job.
She was brilliant, actually.
She was great, and she kind of kept saying, so is it you? So what are you saying is a picture fake? Like, she kept just trying to get him to clarify it. He didn't in the end.
I just thought it was so strange that he specifically said that picture was taken upstairs. I've never been upstairs.
Then how do you know it's upstairs?
Yeah, and then she's like, well, is that you in the picture? Well, it must be me in the picture. So you're saying that picture was taken upstairs. Well, I've never been upstairs. There's no reason for me to be upstairs. The dining room is downstairs.
And then doesn't he then go on to say, they're not the clothes I would have worn there. They were like my travelling clothes. And it's like, bitch.
I know, it was just ridiculous. So I think the biggest thing, there's so many big things. The whole thing is just awful. He obviously has absolutely no remorse for he's not been convicted of anything, but the biggest thing was that he didn't show remorse for his friendship. He even said he wasn't remorseful for his friendship with him.
Yeah,
I fucking would be if I was caught hanging around with a fucking convicted paedophile.
The biggest thing,
sex offender,
he was saying, oh, okay, so first of all, the biggest thing in question is that he was convicted and he did his time, whatever, if you want to call that, time, that ridiculous thing setup he had in Florida when he was convicted. And then Prince Andrew, at the beginning of the interview, all he does is say how he wasn't actually really friends with Jeffrey Epstein. It was his girlfriend, Ghislaine, and it wasn't really him. So, because they were asking, well, why did he come to this party and this party? And he said, well, it's because of his girlfriend. But then the biggest thing in question is, well, why did you go and visit him in New York and stay at his house after he'd already been a convicted sex offender? And he was saying, well, I had to go there and tell him we couldn't be friends anymore. But then it was like, well, I thought you weren't really friends with him. I mean, if I'm honest, if I had a friend that was convicted for a convicted pedophile, then I think I don't think I owe them any explanation as to why we're not friends anymore.
You just cut off all contact, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I thought it was strange too because he was saying, the last time I saw him was like 2007 or something. And then I think Epstein got out of prison at like 2010, something like that. So it'd been years. And then for some reason you think that you need to go to see him to break off your friendship. But you said you haven't seen him for like 3 or 4 years. So why bother?
Yeah, it's just wrong. Andy was saying, it's not he came out the words to say, you are a disgusting human being. I can't believe I had anything to do with you. He was saying, well, I went there face to face to tell him that I couldn't be seen with him anymore. That's what he said. He didn't even condone his actions.
Yeah, that was really interesting. At that point, he was saying, so he went to like break off the relationship because it wouldn't be respectable for them to be seen together. That was his excuse. Not because he is a convicted sex offender, but specifically he said, like Prince Andrew said, it like would not be respectful for them to be seen together. It's like, what a fucking idiot.
Such an idiot.
Yeah. There's a particular clip, I think, that Hannah pointed out.
It's my favourite clip. We'll stick it in here.
Do I regret the fact that he has quite obviously conducted himself in a manner unbecoming? Yes.
Unbecoming? He was a sex offender.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm being polite, in the sense that he was a sex offender.
And I love the way that she corrects him. She's like, no, a sex offender. It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's honestly, it's the most bizarre thing. I think, if I'm very honest, we could actually go through the interview, but if you've watched it, we don't need to like say everything, but I think he must be at that level of arrogance and that he thinks that he can just somehow go and do this interview or I don't understand where he thought that this would have been a good idea, or I think he thought he could just say all these things and people would just be like, yeah, okay, yeah. But now, if I'm honest, I think probably most of the public thinks this. He is 100% guilty in my opinion.
The headline for the Metro, I think it was this morning or a couple of mornings ago, was because he's the Duke of York. Yeah, and it just said the Duke of Porkies. And it was just like, oh my God, that's fucking brilliant. But it was just like the sweating thing made me laugh so hard.
Oh God, the sweating thing.
And I'm not laughing at like these terrible like allegations, like, but the sweating thing was just fucking ridiculous. The thing where he was just like, oh, well, it was unusual for me to go to a Pizza Express in Woking, and it was just like the royal family is trying to like integrate themselves with like the everyday man, and then you get this fucking dickhead go, oh, but it's not a usual thing for me to go to a Pizza Express in Woking. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, you're not above us like in any way.
People started leaving fake reviews on the website for the Woking Pizza Express now.
So good.
The Pizza Express gets flooded. There a couple of them. Okay, here's a couple. So, wonderful staff, great food, no sweat, but I have no recollection of ever being there, so I don't know why I just said that. Another one says, food fit for a prince.
Oh.
Always treated like royalty when you visit, a great place for an alibi.
Oh my God.
They are brilliant.
It was just so absurd. Yeah, so to sum it up, yeah, it's a car crash, and you guys should check it out.
I'm about to absolutely destroy a load of people's names now, so get ready for this.
I was trying to do the Russian one earlier.
I was like practicing how to say his surname, and I still don't think I've got it. So it might change every time, but please just don't even acknowledge it. Don't acknowledge my fuck ups because I don't think I can take it. So this week for our review section, we'd like to talk about The Devil Next Door. As a disclaimer, there are some pretty heavy topics in this. We will be talking about concentration camps and things that happen within them. So if you feel that you may be sensitive towards that, you can always skip ahead. So The Devil Next Door is a 5-part Netflix documentary available on Netflix. Wow, I did not proofread my notes. Which follows fucking hell, which follows the trials of John Demjanjuk, a man first accused of being a notorious Nazi death camp gas chamber operator, Ivan the Terrible, and latterly a guard at the notorious Sobibor camp. So Demjanjuk was originally from Ukraine. He immigrated to the United States in 1952. He worked in a Ford automotive factory and had a seemingly quite quiet and normal life in the suburbs of Cleveland, Ohio. But in the 1970s, he was accused of being a Chornicki man, which, to put very loosely, were men from prisoner of war camps trained by the SS and potentially the German police to be collaborators for the Nazis. So they were trained at a facility in Chornicki, hence the name Chornicki man, and they were often posted to work in concentration camps. It came as a bit of a shock to his friends and families that some 30 years later, after he came to the US, he was deported to Israel, where he stood accused of crimes against humanity. At this point, his US citizenship is also revoked. So the first kind of parts of this documentary follow his trial in Israel, and it pivots on his identity. It is, as you imagine, quite fraught and emotive. The trial is, pretty horrific. Evidence comes in the shape of an ID card from the Chornicki training camp, and eyewitness testimony from those who survived the, I don't know how to describe it, the utter horror of those camps. Those eyewitnesses allegedly identify him as Ivan the Terrible, who was a true monster of a man. He would terrorise and beat Jewish prisoners on their way into the gas chambers in such a cruel fashion, which also included, this is possibly the worst thing I've heard, cutting the breasts off women with a sword.
Yeah.
I just can't. So Demjanjuk said that it was a case of mistaken identity, but he couldn't really explain where he was, sufficiently during that time period. He just said that he was a prisoner of war. One of Demjanjuk's defence lawyers, Yoram Sheftel, gives a lot of interviews, and he is quite a controversial character, to say the least. I personally really struggle with his attitude. He kind of only just hides his delight in being part of the trial. He laps up the attention lavished on him, despite it being really fucking negative. And at one point in the documentary, he takes a lie detector test, and one of the questions is, do you think John Demjanjuk is guilty? And he responds, no. And in true, when I wrote Maury Povich / Jeremy Kyle fashion, the lie detector determines that was a lie. But he just seemed so nonplussed by that.
Yeah, he was a very strange character. It was very much he liked the attention, and he talks about how nobody else would take this case, but he took it, and it was the biggest and best moment in his career and stuff. And I understand that everyone deserves to have a lawyer, but also, maybe could have done it in a different way.
Yeah, I felt he really reveled in it.
Yeah.
And he's living in Israel, he's Jewish, and he's, driving around in a German sports car. It seems really strange. I was talking to someone at work the other day, actually, and she was saying that she's Jewish, and she was like, my mother wouldn't even allow a German coffee machine into our home. So imagine, what that's like, Sheftel driving around in this German sports car.
It's super flashy.
In your face.
And that was, what year was the trial again?
1980s, late 80s.
Oh, that means.
So it really wasn't
50 years. It was 40 years or something. So it was even more, more fresh.
Yeah, so it's fresh for a lot of people.
He seemed okay. So disclaimer. I only actually watched 2 episodes of it. I think it's 5 parts. Is it 5 parts? Yeah,
5 parts.
I watched 2, and it was so bizarre how straight faced he was through all of it. Obviously things. I guess stuff was being translated for him. He had headphones, but they had a lot of the Holocaust survivors, or survivors of the concentration camps that were testifying, and they just all the people in the watching were just sobbing, and it was horrific, and then they were so emotional, but he just didn't ever show any emotion ever to any of it. It was just
and then you've got his lawyer sitting there smirking.
It was just really odd.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's one point where that defense lawyer, Yoram Sheftel, he like attacks the credibility of the witnesses, and he's even like told off by the trial judges about it. So it's just, it shows you like yeah, exactly, how could you? It's awful. Another point for Sheftel is that he turns one of Demjanjuk's US lawyers who's working with him in Israel, like the top lawyer, against him, and the client then eventually kicks him off the case, so Sheftel could be like top dog. So it shows you kind of like the ruthlessness of this man. Wow. Let's move away from him because he's a bit of a prick. Demjanjuk is found guilty and sentenced to death in Israel, but appeals the conviction. Eventually, the guilty verdict is overturned by the Israeli Supreme Court, as there was a reasonable doubt that he wasn't, in fact, Ivan the Terrible. So it kind of pivoted on his identity. And following this acquittal, which took quite a long time, he was acquitted in 1993, and he returned to Ohio. In 1998, he has his citizenship restored, but just over a year later, a new complaint is brought against him, and this alleges that he was a guard at the Sobibor death camp and one other camp, which were situated in German-occupied Poland at the time. So he loses his citizenship, his US citizenship, for the second time in 2002, and is eventually, after a lot of toing and froing, ordered to be deported to Germany in 2009, where he faced tens of thousands of counts of accessory to murder. So it's not like it's not even like 10 or 20, I think it's 27,900 counts.
Wow.
It shows you the scale of it. And I found that this part of the documentary quite interesting, because he really portrayed when the authorities came to sort of pick him up in Ohio to take him to Germany, he portrayed himself as this really elderly and frail man, and yeah, he was elderly.
This part was so funny. And they like wheel him in on a stretcher, and he's like, his mouth is open, and he's like shaking, he's so frail, and they're closed. Like, yeah, this is all fake.
Yeah, and so he's filmed like exactly how you say, but then they prove, because his family were like, oh, he should be protected under it's called the NCAT, it's the United Nations Convention Against Torture, because of his like frail state. But I think, is it the FBI guy? And he was like, it was all bullshit, effectively. He was like, yeah, the day before he was picked up, he was like seen getting in and out of a car unaided, walking unaided, laughing with his friends and family. And then the moment he gets arrested, he just turns into this like completely opposite.
Yeah. So
that was like the Golden State Killer did that.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was like they had said he was like walking around like washing his car or something the day before, and then when you see him in court, he's like being wheeled in, and he looks like he's
heavily medicated.
Yeah, exactly.
I think as well, because they were trying to argue that taking him on a plane to Germany would kill him, basically. Like, he was so frail, he couldn't go on this flight. But yeah, that they have surveillance of him just chilling.
Just like chatting, like walking around town. Yeah.
So dumb.
I think the thing that not annoyed me, but the thing that made me shout at the TV at this point was when, obviously, his family were obviously very upset about him being deported to Germany for like being deported again for the second time. And they're saying, oh, you know, when will they stop pursuing him? You know, he's an old man, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, bitch, when he stops being a Nazi. Like,
yeah.
You potentially kill thousands of people. They're going to give a shit if he's your grandfather.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it's awful. So to round up, he was found fit to stand trial in 2009. In July 2009, he was charged with 27,900 counts of accessory to murder in July 2009. That's supposed to say June 2009 first time. And then was found guilty in May 2011, aged 91 years old. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison, but released from custody pending an appeal. He'd already served 2 years in prison in Germany during the trial, and obviously he'd served 8 years in prison in Israel as well. But his appeal never proceeded because he died in Germany in March of 2012. And strangely, it's something to do with the German legal system, but because he died before his appeal could proceed, his conviction was not overturned, it was kind of like struck from the record. So technically he's legally innocent. So anything that says he's a convicted war criminal is technically wrong.
Oh, wow.
Even though we know he done it, allegedly done it.
Yeah. So what? Yeah. So Germany, sorry, because I didn't watch it. So what evidence did Germany have? So in Israel, he went there and then it was overturned. But then Germany came back and said, oh, wait, no, we have more evidence? Or were they still going on the same?
It was a different conviction. So in the first trial, they convicted him of being Ivan the Terrible and all the crimes associated with what Ivan had been taken part in. That gets overturned. It is kind of fuzzy in the documentary. They don't really talk about it that much or even talk about the evidence. But in Germany, he is not convicted as Ivan, but more that he is involved in like these crimes and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha.
I thought it was a really fascinating look at the legal process in different parts of the world. I found that really interesting. And also I think World War II is often glamorized in certain facets, but this documentary will bring you crashing back down to earth. There's a lot of imagery of death camps and just the sheer scale and monstrous loss of human life, which I understand, could be really, some people could really struggle with watching that, so please do use your best judgment before you start watching this documentary. But I thought it was well produced and it dealt with the material very sensitively.
Yeah, I thought it was a very interesting story. I hadn't heard of it actually before. I hadn't heard of it in the news or anything.
No,
the thing that I didn't really understand. So, I mean, I guess everybody has an opinion whether he is Ivan or not, whether he got away with it or not. Me personally, just from watching that, and I did a little bit of research afterwards because I found it really interesting. I don't think there will ever be enough evidence to convict anybody of being Ivan without reasonable doubt. It's just so long ago now, and so much evidence obviously would be lost or misplaced or damaged or whatever.
Or destroyed.
But yeah, whether purposely or, by mistake. But I don't really know why there is so much evidence that makes him look very guilty in terms of having some sort of part in, being a Nazi.
Being there. Yeah.
So I don't know why in the first trial they didn't just take that approach and say, let's just try him as a war criminal or however you would word that, rather than trying to convict him of being one particular person, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it definitely felt like there was a lot of evidence, especially like you were saying, he can't really account for where he was or what he was doing. Because it was, at least when I was watching it, I thought, well, he can't say that he's not Ivan because he was a guard at this death camp. So he kind of just has to say nothing.
So what would you guys give it then? Scale of 1 to 5, what would you rate it?
I'd give it a 4.5 out of 5. I thought it was really interesting. The material is very heavy, but it's very good, very well produced.
Yeah, I'd say a 4 out of 5 as well. I kind of wish they had a little bit more, maybe even another episode about the Germany trial, because they really sort of glaze over that one at the end, but it would have been interesting to know if they had different evidence or that sort of stuff. But overall, yeah, a really interesting story, definitely heavy to watch. But I think it's really important that those types of stories are told.
Absolutely.
Weird Crime Time.
So today for Weird Crime Time, this weird crime does not involve animals, and it does not involve food, and I think it's hilarious. So this comes from The Guardian, and the title is, U.S. man convicted of murder says life term completed when he briefly died.
Huh.
Benjamin, last name I can't pronounce, says his 2015, quote, death when his heart stopped meant that his life sentence should be considered served. So apparently in 1996, he was sentenced to life in prison after he clubbed a man to death with the handle of a pickaxe.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh, right.
Yeah, okay. a real fun guy to be around. But in March 2015, he developed severe complications from kidney stones and went into septic shock. So he actually lost consciousness in his cell, was taken to the hospital. At the hospital, he momentarily died, but was revived from doctors, was treated, and then was sent back to jail. Now, apparently, he and his attorneys are saying that his momentary death meant he had completed his life sentence, and returning to prison was therefore illegal. He also says he was revived against his wishes. So he either wants to be out of prison or he wants to be dead, basically.
When I first heard of this, I thought he had been like pronounced dead and then like
woke up in the morgue?
In the morgue sort of thing. Because that, you could think, maybe, or a death certificate was issued, but that's bullshit.
No, I mean, that's a stretch.
Yeah.
I mean, how long was he dead for? Like a couple of minutes?
Oh, momentary.
A minute, if that.
Yeah, probably.
Well, I mean, I do give him credit for creativity.
He's trying.
He's trying. I mean, come on. He's like, I guess there was an angle, but I can't believe like attorneys are actually involved. The fact you were like, come on.
Is there nothing else in Iowa to do?
I know.
So apparently the judges are basically saying that they do not believe the legislature was written to include this sort of situation. The law does not define this situation, basically. And that the man is either still alive, in which case he must remain in prison, or he is actually dead, in which case this appeal is moot. So he is still in prison.
That's such a perfect sum up. I love that so much.
Maybe they need to like amend the legislation and put like it's like
if you die and stay dead,
the death sentence, but like or till you're in prison until you die, for real.
Yeah, for real.
Oh, that's so funny.
So I think that's all we have for today. Please go and check out our website, murderfriends.com. We post a blog there, so there's always something we've added about an episode after we post it. Also our sources, so if you want to check those out or read any articles for yourself. If you have any questions or funny the stories that you find amusing, maybe for a weird crime time, anything like that, you can email us at murderfriendspod@gmail.com. And please follow us on Twitter, MurderFriendsPD, and Instagram, MurderFriendsPod. Also, we are on every sort of major platform that you listen to your podcasts, as well as Spotify and YouTube. And in fact, this past Saturday, we have dropped a special monthly video on YouTube. And this month it was a Q&A. And thank you to all who submitted their questions. That was great. We had good fun with it. My cat's making an appearance, so apologies if there's any
pairing.
Yeah. Anyway,
this is Anna pairing.
It's just sorry. Anyway, see you next time.
Bye.